Good evening and welcome to Poland Daily News. I'm Nicholas Richardson. The Onet portal has found shocking information. In late March and early April, there was a brutal detention of Polish soldiers. Uniformed soldiers were said to have fired warning shots to scare away illegal migrants. The case is also shocking because it has been hidden for the past 2 months, not only from the public, but even from the president, who, as the Constitution states, is the head of the armed forces. Soldiers and border guards risk their lives every day on the Polish-Belarusian border. On the 25th of March, a group of about 50 illegal migrants stormed the border. Their attack was repulsed by the Polish army. In an effort to put off the attackers, the soldiers fired warning shots into the air and then into the ground. According to the prosecutor's office, managed by Adam Bodnar, the uniformed soldiers exceeded their authority by firing at least several rounds in their direction, thereby exposing them to imminent danger of loss of life or health. 2 days later, the military police detained and handcuffed the soldiers, and their case is now under investigation. Such far-reaching coercive measures were used. This is an appalling issue and must be clarified. If the use of such coercive measures was unjustified in this case, then there must be absolutely decisive consequences, because at this point the honour of these soldiers has certainly been violated, and such a situation on the part of the gendarmerie should never take place, nor on the part of any other Polish service. More than 2 months have passed since these events. The case was scrupulously concealed by the government, although, as Deputy Prime Minister and Minister of National Defence Władysław Kosiniak-Kamysz admitted today, he found out about the shooting immediately after the incident. He also argues that he was not informed about the arrest itself. I found out about the incident immediately after the incident at the border, and that all actions that are necessary are taken by the military police at the request of the commander of the military task force, Podlasha. The situation at the Ministry of National Defence does not look good. This is evidenced by the fact that the deputy head of this ministry, Paweł Zalewski, found out about the whole incident from the media. I found out now, but I am on vacation. To make matters worse, the matter was concealed from the Polish President Andrzej Duda. Polish law clearly states that the president is the supreme head of the armed forces. Donald Tusk's team simply violates this principle, as well as many others. Why was neither I, as the Supreme Head of the Armed Forces, nor the National Security Office informed about this? Was there any attempt to hide this situation? Was there some attempt to sweep this situation under the carpet while treating Polish soldiers in this way? This is yet another time when the new government disregards the head of state. History unfortunately comes full circle. When Lech Kaczynski was president, Donald Tusk also withheld information from him. It was concealed from the head of state that the Russian side did not want Lech Kaczynski's presence at the Katyn ceremony. Eventually, the visits were separated, and the president died at Smolensk. It is clear from this memorandum, which is why it is discretionary, that representatives of the Polish Foreign Ministry with representatives of the Russian Foreign Ministry, as early as September 2009, discussed how to arrange Putin and Tusk's visit to Katyn, so that the Polish president would not take part in these Katyn ceremonies. Serving on the border is particularly important and dangerous. Today, a soldier attacked by illegal immigrants died. There were more of these attacks. They occurred when Polish Prime Minister Donald Tusk was at the border, but the events were also kept under wraps for several days. General Andrzej Kowalski says, "The soldiers guarding our border know what happened to their colleagues in March, and that is why they are afraid to use firearms in defense of the border, but also of themselves. And this could lead to more attacks by migrants." Now we understand the broader context of what happened. I'm talking about the event when the Polish soldier was stabbed. He acted in a situation when he was really aware that the Polish state was not behind him and was not supporting him. In connection with the arrest of Polish soldiers, Polish President Andrzej Duda convened a National Security Council on Monday. The Polish military needs to be assured that the authorities as well as the people are on their side. Paweł Błoch, TV Republika. Polish President Andrzej Duda spoke about the secret police methods used against dismissed ambassadors in an interview with this station. The foreign minister has stressed all along that rotation is a natural matter in diplomacy. We have discovered the real version of events. The dismissal of ambassador occurs not only in disregard of the presidential prerogative, but also in a manner far from the norms of rotation in the Polish foreign ministry. What was the background in Rome?
Ministerstwo Spraw Zagranicznych nie tylko
The foreign ministry not only recalls ambassadors without an agreement with the presidential palace, but sends a request for approval to accept new ambassadors, also bypassing the president's prerogative in this matter. And what does it look like to dismiss an ambassador in the host country? What problems do outgoing ambassadors face from day to day? Today, I take a closer look at the situation. I dismissed Ambassador Anders, who had already signed an agreement with the Foreign Ministry by mutual agreement to terminate her employment. Is it now that the President will still consider her as an ambassador? She has already returned to, it seems, New Jersey, where she came from. I don't understand this at all. I, for one, am not sure if I've ever been to New Jersey, but I certainly haven't lived there. I think this is being pulled out of my finger to show that I ran away, that the President is doing wrong, that he is counting on me. The Polish President has not signed the dismissal of Anna Maria Anders from her post as Polish ambassador to Italy. She remains in Rome for the duration of her stay. She told us about the background to her dismissal. I had no choice. I had to sign this agreement. I was kicked out of the Foreign Ministry on the 31st of May. Rotation in the Foreign Ministry, as the head of the ministry stresses all the time, is a natural issue. These are such life issues. People have children in school, so if there is to be a change in the position of ambassador, we must do it in the summer. But the methods and unprecedented haste with which diplomats are being recalled, in this case at the end of May rather than at the end of July, is unprecedented. Officially, the post is headed by the chargé d'affaires. A few days to move out after 5 years is not at all possible. I had 2 days like that where I thought I would be living on the street. My friends helped me. What is being done today against a number of Polish diplomats is being carried out with methods straight out of the worst named services, and this has been going on for a long time. Actually, since Mr. Sikorski has been minister and since these people came along with him. Notices are sent out on Good Friday that ambassadors are to return to the country. These people have children, they go to school, and families panic. These are such underground methods of crushing, intimidating people and forcing people to obey. The Italian ambassador also expected to end her mission at the end of July. She was prepared for this because still in July there are anniversary celebrations of the Battle of Ancona, in which her father, General Władysław Anders, took part. But the new ambassador is expected to be Maximilian Schnepf's son, Richard Schnepf. Minister Radosław Sikorski just wants to recall from the embassy in Portugal in Lisbon Ambassador Joanna Pilecka, who is a younger relative of Rotmistrz Pilecki, but very much wants to send as Polish ambassador Mr. Schnepf, whose dad, together with the Soviets, actively participated in the August of manhood against Poles. Why the incomprehensible rush? I too would like to understand this. I, for one, suppose it was so that some replacement would be quickly located in my place. I thought it would end as it should end, that the rotation would take place at the end of July, and it was a drama, and it is still a drama. Italian diplomacy cannot understand why it is receiving a request for approval for a new ambassador when the dismissal of the current one is not signed by the president. And Poland's image in the world will suffer because of this. Edyta Hołdyńska, TV Republika. A Polish soldier stabbed by a migrant on the Polish-Belarusian border has died. Despite the efforts of doctors, the life of the soldier from the 1st Armoured Brigade, wounded in a migrant attack on the border, could not be saved. The question, did this death have to happen? How is the protection of the Polish border defenders by the state? In the face of all this information, which reaches us today, the question of political responsibility for the death of the soldier seems most appropriate. Last week, a migrant stabbed a Polish soldier with a knife while trying to push across the border. Despite the help provided and the efforts of doctors, his life could not be saved. A stabbing by a migrant is a tragedy. Yesterday, the media revealed that Polish soldiers guarding the border were handcuffed and detained on charges of unjustified use of weapons. They put handcuffs on them and forced them into a car. The military police, led by Tomasz Kaiser, made not even a mistake but compromised the Polish uniform. Who should bear responsibility for the outrageous detention of Polish soldiers guarding our borders? Civic coalition politicians put the blame on prosecutor Tomasz Janacek, who was appointed while Zbigniew Ziobro was still in office. It turns out, however, that the prosecutor was appointed to supervise only on the 6th of May, and in addition was not informed of the details of the case. Janacek is asking for a meeting with Polish President Andrzej Duda. After the 6th of May, I have not received any information. I have not been informed about the progress of these proceedings. Meanwhile, the name of the prosecutor in charge of the case in Białystok, who brought the charges against the two soldiers, has been withheld. Therefore, the summoning of Tomasz Janacek by Attorney General Adam Bodnar appears to be a political setup. If someone today in this case is trying to incriminate the prosecutor's office, he is really doing something extremely disgusting, because in this whole case, actions that are scandalous were carried out without a decision of the prosecutor's office. Therefore, the first person that should resign is the Commander-in-Chief of the Gendarmerie, Colonel Tomasz Kaiser, who is responsible for the actions taken against the soldiers. If anyone exceeds his authority or goes beyond his authority, he will be punished and consequences will be drawn. I expect immediate action from the Commander-in-Chief of the military police. Questions about the resignation are also addressed to the head of the Polish Ministry of Defense, Władysław Kozyniak-Kamysz, to whom the gendarmerie is subordinate. The Deputy Prime Minister learned of the events 2 months ago, but it was concealed from the public. Interestingly, the head of the Ministry of Defense claims that he was not informed about the form of detention of the soldiers, namely handcuffing. The first decision should be the resignation of the head of the military police, and the second decision should be the resignation of the Minister of National Defense, Władysław Kozyniak-Kamysz. Observers of the political scene speak not without reason of the chaos in the military and Polish services after the ruling coalition took power. They made changes in key management positions just to bring in their own people.
Chaos.
Chaos, chaos, chaos. Mr. Kozyniak-Kamysz got detailed information about what happened at the border 2 months ago and took no action on it. That's why at a press conference of Deputy Prime Minister, head of the Ministry of Defense, Władysław Kozyniak-Kamysz, questions were asked not only by journalists but by politicians of the United Right. Prime Minister Jacek Ozdoba, as part of the MP's intervention, please do not interrupt. The truth is that you have no shame because not long ago you spit on the Polish uniform. Together with Donald Tusk, you allowed Polish soldiers to be challenged. The film Green Border even fit into the campaign script, and you did not react when your celebrities, your politicians on the border fit into the narrative of the Russian Federation. It was the then opposition that is in power today that attacked the Law and Justice government for defending the Polish-Belarusian border. Soldiers, border guards, police and territorial defense forces were portrayed in a negative light. The men came out with guns. Sir, you are talking to an MP. I am not some random person. May I ask you to identify yourself? Maybe I will come closer and record you closer. I will scan your face and maybe you can be found. I have the impression that this is a pack of dogs that has cornered poor and weak people. This is not how soldiers act. Garbage, simply put. This situation we are facing is after the dismissal of General Poloch and betting on people who don't know their stuff, who want to please the new government to some extent. The situation requires decisive action because there is a war going on across our eastern border, in Ukraine and on the Polish-Belarusian border, a hybrid war being waged by Belarusian and Russian services. It turned out that this is not an invention of those in power at the time, but is a reality, and they can't cope with this reality and are not able to control it and are not able to propose anything that would change the current situation and could prevent further escalation. In addition, as part of the actions of the prosecutor's office, forcibly taken over by Adam Bodnar on the 17th of April by an order of the regional prosecutor in Lublin, a special investigative team was set up to investigate and evaluate the behaviour of Polish officers taken against foreigners who crossed the Polish-Belarusian border. Prime Minister, I have very specific questions. Please do not run away. Łukasz Szmuda, TV Republika. Polish President Andrzej Duda, among other world leaders, took part in the celebrations of the 80th anniversary of the landing of Allied troops in Normandy. Polish soldiers participated in this, the largest landing operation in the history of wars, in large numbers. The celebrations were held on France's Omaha Beach.
Exactly 80 years ago, on June 6, 1944, the famous Allied landing in Normandy began. This was the initial phase of Operation Overlord, the largest landing operation in the history of wars in terms of forces and resources used. The operation was carried out under the command of General Dwight Eisenhower. It mainly involved the troops of the United States, Great Britain, and Canada. Polish soldiers also had their share. It is today's 80th anniversary, recalling that terrible big war that ravaged and destroyed Europe, which after all began with the German-Soviet aggression against Poland. Today, Russia is back to its imperial plans, ambitions, and is again becoming a threat to the world and must therefore be stopped. The Polish president honored those who fell fighting for Europe's freedom 80 years ago. 696 Polish heroes rest at the largest Polish necropolis in France, in Granville-la-Gennerie. Among them, mainly soldiers of General Maczek's 1st Armored Division, but there were far more troops under the white and red flag. The Allied operation in Normandy 80 years ago opened a second front in Europe, making it possible to defeat the Germans and Soviets. The united forces of the entire free world gave victory over the tyranny of dictators. In addition to the Polish president, the main ceremonies on Omaha's famous beach were attended by, among others, U.S. President Joe Biden, Great Britain's King Charles III, German Chancellor Olaf Scholz, and Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky.
We're living in a time when democracy is more at risk across the world than any point since the end of World War II, since these beaches were stormed in 1944. Now we have to ask ourselves, will we stand against tyranny, against evil, against crushing brutality of the iron fist? Will we stand for freedom? Will we defend democracy? We stand together. My answer is yes and only can be yes.
80 years ago, the free world united against the criminal regimes of Germany and the Soviet Union. Today, once again, the free world must be united to defeat Russia.
That's the news. Thank you for watching. And from me, it's have a good night and a better tomorrow.